Welcome to the Gig Boss Podcast.
Nice to be here.
Thank you for being here, man. We got Jason Fabus on the show. Originally from Milwaukee area?
Yes, sir.
Milwaukee. And two of us met at the University of Minnesota way back in the day. Spent some time in Minneapolis and moved out to LA. He's kicking some major ass out there. You know, he does a whole bunch of stuff. Beats, collaborates with artists in worlds of pop and R&B and soul. Plays saxophone in his own groups. A lot of them leaning towards the early jazz eras. 30s and 40s. You really into 30s and 40s music? We can talk about this a little more in a bit, but
yeah, I'd like to. It's a whole story in itself, but I would say a lot of people would think of me in that era. It might be something that I have an affinity towards. But
cool. Mm-hmm. He's a vocalist. He plays accordion in his band West Coast Prost, a polka band based in the LA area. Steadily growing his Spotify and YouTube followings with nearly 30,000 monthly listeners on Spotify. Truly a man of many talents and bursting stereotypes left and right. Ladies and gentlemen, Jason Fabus. Come on.
What's up? Adam Meckler. So what was the year that we first laid eyes on each other? Was it 2009?
I think it was. I think it was about 2009. I started my master's, and you started your undergrad. We started. I went into Minnesota in 2007. So this would have been, I think, going into my junior year. Oh, really?
Which for me was the first year that I was actually getting into the top jazz band, and that's how I got to meet you.
Oh, okay. I see. So you're a little older than I thought you were when we first met.
Yeah, cool. I think I was a junior. I just didn't act like one. Or probably didn't even play like one, to be honest.
No, you sounded good, man. You were doing some good things.
I just remember, dude, like, I'm serious, not trying to, like, blow steam up your ass, but you were the first guy that, like, you came into the school, and me and my buddies, like Nelson, were both just like, who's this dude? It's a trumpet player. He plays jazz. He sounds like Roy Hargrove. And we were just like, holy shit. Yeah, I just remember, like, we looked up to you like a big brother. So we were always trying to, like, just get a compliment from you or get something, try to hang out with you.
Well, we all started playing together a bunch, man. Different things. My orchestra, you guys both played in my orchestra for a long time.
Oh, yeah, dude.
Which was really cool.
AMO. Yeah. Still going, right?
Still going, baby. Yeah, we just did another album, came out in August, and then we have another one we're going to record in the summer. We're going to do an album called Sampled, where we do a bunch of music that was sampled by hip-hop artists, but I'm doing new big band arrangements of songs that have been sampled before, and then
I like that, dude.
Doing them as hip-hop versions.
Dude, speaking of that, have you heard, there's, I think, an orchestra I think they're in the UK, and they do all the, they arranged big band arrangements of beats that MF Doom rapped over.
Oh, sick. I've not heard that.
Shoot, I forget their name. I want to be able to shout them out. But yeah, they do a bunch of the MF Doom beats as an orchestra. I think it's called the Abstract Orchestra.
MF Doom is on Rhymesayers, right? I think MF Doom is on Rhymesayers in Minneapolis.
Was he?
I think he was.
Yeah, the group is called the Abstract Orchestra.
The Abstract Orchestra. Cool.
Definitely worth checking out. That was like, I think that kind of got me, stuff like that gets me really motivated with the whole, I know we're stuck at home, it seems, but like we can still collaborate with other musicians across the world. And like,
yeah,
when you hear stuff that's crossing genres like that so easily, it's like, oh yeah, there's still like so much creativity out there. We have to find it in different ways right now. We can't just be going to our friends' gigs left and right.
Yeah, totally. You know what I remember? I remember visiting your dorm room. Maybe you lived with Nelson, and you were already at that time making beats too. Like you came in as a saxophone player, right? And you were like a saxophone major and you played jazz and stuff. But you were already doing the Logic thing.
I was doing the predating Logic. I was doing the FL Studio Fruity Loops thing.
Nice.
It was like great. It still is a really great program for like starting to fuck around and make beats, and then I'd use Virtual DJ, which is a nice turntable app that you can put on your computer. and I'd start working with like sampling two different things together, or starting to put cues on a record that I liked and like making a pattern out of it that I liked.
Cool.
The shit that like Kanye West was doing and like early on.
Yep.
And J Dilla and Madlib. And like, so for some reason, dude, I got into it at the end of high school. I was always into hip hop, but I was totally misguided. I was just like a suburban white kid in Wisconsin. Like,
yeah.
So we're only listening to what the radio was throwing at us at the time, which luckily was still some pretty good shit.
I was gonna say, like, back then, at least when I was a kid, it was like Jay-Z was on the radio and Ludacris, and like
Dre,
there were a lot of
the whole
Dre,
West Coast scene was on the radio.
Totally.
But I remember it was, we were the era of kids that were we were like digital seekers, because like when YouTube came out 2004-ish, right? When YouTube first came out, it didn't tell you what to look for. It was just like a blank canvas. You had to think of, what am I going to type in here and try to find right now?
Sure.
And it was the same even when we were like looking for music. Like if you go down to Napster or like LimeWire, all these like torrent websites and shit.
Yep.
Again, you're opening up a page and it's just a search bar and you're like, what do I want? And I remember
no suggestion algorithm, no big data yet. Yeah.
And I want us to kind of go back to those days. Like they should have at least a button on YouTube or Google that just like just blanks it out, like discover mode or something, where you have to critically think, what do I want to watch right now? Because what happened for me was I would type in jazz and then maybe like saxophone and hip hop. I just write in these words, and then I think the first thing that came up was "We Got the Jazz" by Tribe Called Quest.
Nice.
So here I am, this like kid in Wisconsin, listening to whatever's on the radio, and then all of a sudden I find "We Got the Jazz" by Tribe Called Quest, and it's like boom, I'm taking off. Now I'm just like, holy shit, there's hip hop producers sampling jazz records, and like, and it swings. Man. And then you start to find instrumentalists who are playing covers of hip hop beats, like Robert Glasper doing the Dilla shit, and it's like, holy shit.
Yeah, it's a wormhole.
Yeah.
That's very cool, man. I want to touch a little bit more on like your last year in high school. You're using FL Studio. You're making beats. So for me, like I was always so obsessed with being good at trumpet that I always thought like, oh, somebody else will handle being able to record. And some, of course, over the last 6 years, basically since my first son was born, I started teaching myself how to use Pro Tools and Logic, and it became very clear that it's like, there's no way of avoiding this. I have to learn how to use this stuff. I have to get up to speed with how to record myself, how to do multiple layers, that kind of stuff, how to make beats maybe. But it feels like there's this really real generational gap between like I was right on the edge of people that didn't learn that in school, where the technology maybe wasn't as accessible when I was in high school. And you're not that much younger than me, but how old are you now?
I'm 32.
32, yeah. So you're like 5 years younger than me. And I heard nothing about this kind of technology when I was in high school, like zero, and I was in all the music programs. It's like, you'd think somebody would have been like, here's a program where you can record yourself. Like, I don't know why that would never, and I was writing songs on guitar and like, I could have totally benefited from something like that. But then I started teaching at, McNally Smith College of Music later on, which is this contemporary music school. And it was like being around those students, everyone knew how to use the gear, and I was like, oh man, this is, I really have to know. Like, do you feel like that has guided your career in a big way? Do you feel like you gave you a competitive edge coming out of college and kind of going into the industry?
Hold up. First of all, rest in peace to the McNally Smith School and all the faculty that taught there, and amazing students that are like still great musicians. That was
they're crushing it.
That was a really unfortunate turn of events. But colleges are businesses; they can screw people over. And
this one was a business. I mean, this one was for profit, trying to make the move to nonprofit. But
I see.
Yeah, it wasn't. It wasn't a good situation.
Anyways, I'm sorry that happened. That really screwed a lot of people.
Hey man, that's why I'm in Michigan now. It's basically if I had still had that gig, I'd be in Minneapolis still, I'm sure.
I mean, we just keep going. We get thrown into weird places sometimes, but you don't stop going. So.
Yep.
Okay, but back to your question. I don't look at it as an advantage, because I still look up to people who that maybe keep their mindset more finite on like, I just want to play this instrument and maybe I just want to write my own music and be my own voice, I admire the hell out of that. Like
Yeah.
that's the true artist path. I think for me, I've always shown signs, even as a young kid in music, that I was more of a producer. Like I was listening to other people and experimenting with sounds early on. Like before FL Studio, when I was 13 or 14, I'd start picking up my mom's classical guitar that she had. It was a classical Yamaha.
Yep.
And I'd start like learning chords, or like I taught myself accordion, and then I'd start recording it on, a shitty little voice microphone that you get with your Gateway computer in 95.
Sure.
And I'd start going on Sound Recorder and just literally recording stuff to the metronome on my keyboard, because I didn't know how to do a click track.
Yep.
So I'd hit the metronome button on my keyboard, and I just start going. So like I just think it's just who I've always been. I'm just finally starting to get better at it.
Yeah. Yeah. Hell yeah.
I
think that's a great lesson too, man.
Me.
Like that's a great lesson. Like it takes time for these things to develop, but for you to develop as a human, like using like essentially it's like another instrument, right? Like learning to use the computer to make music. It's like another instrument, or learning to record yourself. But also just like your taste, your skills catch up with your taste, right? Over time.
Yes. And for me, maybe it was something that was always kind of a passion I was kind of putting on the back burner and focusing my time on getting better at saxophone, and then starting to work and do gigs on that, freelance. Yeah. When you move to LA, it's kind of inevitable. You just get sucked into this freelance scene because there's so much work out here. But a lot of it is you're playing live and you're playing in the studio. So like that was just something that was always on the backside for me, is I have these creative projects and ideas that I want to be able to put down. And I never stopped. I just kept going. But certainly this pandemic was like a moment for me where I'm like, holy shit, it's time to just put 100% of my effort on this right now.
Yeah.
We're not playing gigs outside right now. We're not even allowed to go hang with buddies and play. We started doing that pretty early on, but we're trying to be safe and
I mean, you were doing
stay sane.
Great, like live stream concerts. I remember you telling me that you made some good money doing that early on in the pandemic time.
We did one early, which was smart. We did it March 15th. I called the quartet. We called it the Fabus 4, and then we have our singer Natalie Mendoza and a couple other friends were hanging, and we said, let's just do a concert at the house. And the generosity that we got from friends and family, like all over Facebook, was honestly too much. I'm super grateful for that, and the donations were very nice. And like after that, we split it amongst the band, and we're like, we better hold off doing live streams and let some other people do theirs. Everybody gets their turn, I think.
Right. And that got pretty fatiguing, I think, for listeners too, like to have so many live streams happening all the time. And to be like, I want to donate people to everybody. I want to, especially musicians, for other musicians, it's like, what can we do? Like, we're all hurting. It's like everybody's trying to make money on live streams,
Right.
I remember talking to or hearing Corey Wong say something about making the experience really unique and interesting when you do a live stream. He's done a bunch of stuff. He did a live stream, like a live thing in Miami where they all flew down to Miami and they did something. I think it was Miami. Mm-hmm. And then I did something with him and Kaz on a little cruise boat.
Seen it, love it.
Yeah.
Keep doing it. I love what you guys are doing, cool,
man. Like I'm a
LA.
very, very small part of that. Like he's crushing it. He's got other trumpet players that he works with, and that's great.
Talk about like a creative mind who hears things and is like, I'm gonna call all the people and put it together and make it happen.
Yeah, totally.
I love that.
Like when you said you have a producer mindset, like that's very much how I view Corey too. Like he's just a brilliant producer, and he sees things and also great artist, amazing guitar player, of course. Like he's a total package. I mean, he mixes all of his shit too. Like sit down at the board and mix everything. So he's a bad dude, no doubt about it.
I have a question for you. So
yeah,
as we reached this period of time where a lot of musicians were forced or perhaps like awakened to the reality of like, okay, I got to be able to record at home or know how to start producing, or at least reaching out to the right people and networking like that. Have you adjusted how you're teaching now with the kids, the college kids?
Well, my students aren't trying to be professional musicians. So there's that. Like I don't have music majors at Michigan Tech. Michigan Tech I have engineering majors. I have like materials engineers and mechanical engineers and civic engineers. You know what I mean? I do have some students that are like sound design majors, audio production and technology majors, and those. So we have like tech side of the music industry, which I think is really cool. And those students are leaving with the skills that you need, to really do it. And
but is this something we should be putting into programs, you think?
Hell yeah. Oh man. Yeah. And I think McNally Smith was doing it really well. And in a lot of ways, like had an amazing student population and faculty. And it was just like, it was the stuff above that was screwy. And they were trying to fix it. I mean, they were trying to make it work. But I think that's like, conservatories have to start. Like I took a recording class when I went to Lawrence University, but it was like nothing, and it was kind of a blow off class, and nobody. There was like one person that took it seriously, And now I'm like looking back, I'm like, God, I wish I had paid attention to like what these different microphone types are, and like how to, there's just so much. My initial learning curve was so steep to learn how to use Pro Tools. I remember just constantly calling my engineer friends like, why can't I hear myself? Why can't I hear my playback? Why can't, it's like constantly, in out shit where I'm just like, God damn it. Why can't I get this to work? And I was like I'm doing it 45 minutes while Augie's taking a nap as a baby, like trying to fit it in, trying to learn so I can then record myself playing horns. And now, of course, like I'm doing it all the time. I'm recording for people remotely all the time. I record for the Hornheads remotely. Did some shit for Nathy Peluso recently, who's like one of the biggest Argentinian pop stars. She's got like 250 million views on all of her YouTube videos. Totally insane. And I'm doing all that from my home office here. But yeah, man, like I think it has to be happening on an educational level. And like we could dive into academia, man. That's a whole other thing.
Of course. And I think academia right now is actually, it's like turning on its head right now. Yeah. But certainly, like, it doesn't need to be a class, but it needs to be something that's sprinkled into every class, basically, every other class.
Yeah. When I work,
doing theory assignments through Logic, or you could be doing jazz theory and sending in recordings.
Oh yeah.
Or making videos is important. Like
totally
being able to market your content, even if it's just a freaking video on your phone of you playing a gig. I tell people this all the time. Like, they're like, so should I be doing like these big photo shoots and video shoots and like getting the band looking good and everything? I'm like, honestly, people love to just see you playing on a gig. Just set your phone up and take a 30 or 60-second video of you actually on a gig and send that to other venues. They don't need these like beautiful curated videos.
You mean for booking purposes?
Yeah.
Interesting. Because you're not like an Instagram guy. Like I was going to ask you about this because I remember you saying
I don't want to talk about it.
No, I remember you saying like, man, artists should ditch Instagram and go somewhere where you can make some money. And I just thought that was such an insightful thing to say. And since we talked, I mean, I've totally pared down how much I do on Instagram, and I've plugged way more energy into YouTube and in just more recently trying to build a little bit on Spotify. And
I've been
you've done such a good job
on Instagram for a while, and I don't mean it. I'm not talking shit directly to Instagram, because Instagram or TikTok, any of these social media platforms are powered by us and your own attention. So if you're annoyed with Instagram, then you just need to get off of it. Sure. And that's why people take breaks and shit like that. What was funny for me was I was talking so much shit on Instagram, and then one day I opened it up and my page was locked. It's like, I wonder if my phone was listening to me.
They found out.
Shut that shit down. So I go on the page and it says like, we've detected hacking on your account and it's been temporarily suspended. That's the word they used. Temporarily suspended. Yeah. And they said, we sent a one-time passcode to your email. And guess what email they sent it to?
Like
my UMN University of Minnesota email. Yep. And it's like, poof, the code is gone.
Yeah, it's gone. And Instagram account gone.
Bro, I went through all the steps. I can't tell you how many times I've sent like creepy ass pictures of myself holding up a code and sending it to Facebook, and then like you get an email back from some robot that's like saying like this just didn't work. I just gave up, dude. And I was like, all right, so my Instagram, if you still want to follow me, at Jason Fabus, it still sits there, just dead as a fucking doornail. But you can go ahead and follow me.
I mean, it's better to find you on YouTube and Spotify, right? I mean, you've got regular content happening on those platforms.
Yeah, and I think that's what I've been telling other musicians is YouTube especially is all set up the same way. You could be putting videos on it. You can be putting music through YouTube Music.
Yeah.
You can be putting up reels and shorts, like I think they call it shorts.
They call them shorts, yeah.
And that's like the TikTok version of that. And then you can also put up community posts to all your followers. So you could be putting up polls, questions, pictures. And literally you have all the same interaction that you'd have on Facebook, but now it's directly on a website that monetizes you. And I think as an artist, like that's the goal is we have to understand that everybody's consuming all their content of ours, man, like either through a phone speaker and they're streaming it. It's like we need to understand that that's our monetization. It's at least got to be a part of how we operate moving forward.
Totally.
So I ditched Insta and I'm more on YouTube and Spotify. Honestly, I can't tell you how many times I'll just meet people, in public, and when that question comes up, so how can I find you? What's your Insta? That's what you usually get. Yeah. I'll be like, well, I'm actually not on there right now, so it's like I can either give you my number or please go follow me on YouTube or on Spotify. And every time they're like, oh yeah, they do it. Yeah. It's like, and now they're immediately getting to see your content. They're getting to know you as an artist better.
Right.
So I like that.
Yeah, I like YouTube a lot. I just started monetizing not long ago, less than a year ago.
Yeah, you hit it in 2020.
Yeah.
Didn't you?
Yeah, I hit it in 2020. And I had an account from like 2008, and I had a couple videos that had 30,000 views on them that I just deleted because I was like, these are embarrassing college videos.
But did you notice that happened during 2020? Like that was the kind of the first pandemic wave, and a lot of musicians realized, oh shit, I'm like 300 followers away or subscribers away from 1,000. And a lot of guys started hitting. And obviously one of the ones who was under and is now way over is Emmett Cohen.
Oh, that dude, man, those
Emmett's
sessions,
the shit, man.
Woo.
He's fearless, and like the energy they play with on those sessions is reflective of COVID. I think it's them saying like, "We're gonna go hard."
Yeah.
Him and Kyle Poole and Russell Hall, dude.
Yeah, crushing. Yeah, there's that Patrick Bailey. There's one Patrick Bailey solo. I don't remember what tune it was.
Stupid. All the guests they've had, and but I believe he was under 1,000, or he was not very high at the time. And now he's utilized YouTube. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. And so when did you start, like, what does your trajectory look like with YouTube, and where are you at now?
I've been thinking this year I should put more effort into it. I've kind of just coasted on what I post, but our Oktoberfest band is what got the most fame on YouTube, so it's kind of centered around that.
Cool. Is that West Coast Prost, or is that a different?
That's West Coast Prost. Yeah.
Nice.
We had a video we did in 2016. We shot 3 videos at the Phoenix Club. It's a club a German club in Anaheim that just had this gorgeous room, big spiral staircase going up, and a huge German flag with the American flag. And I was like, this is like such a great shot. I already saw the band there, so I hit them up and like hired it for the day. It was free. They were like, you guys can just come over and record.
Awesome.
So we recorded those videos, and the one we did of Beer Barrel Polka, also known as Roll Out the Barrel.
Yep.
That one is just, YouTube loves it. It continues to do well. Every October it has a huge kick. And then also in March it always has a big kick. I'm not sure why.
Interesting.
But it does well, and that's kind of been I think a lot of YouTubers say the same thing. They have that one video that maybe is really pushing their whole channel forward. And that allows them then to put out more content that might be other stuff that they want to talk about or express. So, of course, I'm putting jazz up there. Or I just put out a lo-fi beats playlist. Over 2 hours
okay.
of
So it's I saw this when it popped up. The title, Cold Brew and Stocks and Cannabis and Beats by JFab. Is that right? And it says lo-fi, chill hop, instrumental study, beats. I mean, like, tell me a bit about the approach behind... I mean, you're obviously trying to hit a bunch of keywords.
And in a way, yeah. But that's also like, that's been my motto the last 2 years, man, is like probably in that order.
Yeah. Cold brew, stocks, cannabis.
When you look at all those words, I think they like, to me, they're humorous words. Like a lot of people might connect to them, especially during this pandemic. Like
definitely.
I love me a good cup of cold brew, and I am a huge coffee snob. and it's the way that I like look forward to waking up in the morning because I'm motivated by what I want to do, and cold brew or good coffee kind of helps me get there.
Yep.
The stocks thing is kind of funny because I think a lot of people kind of woke up to that like corporate America is raking in huge amounts of money right now while we all sit at home.
Right.
And we want
and
to
we
get
have
a
the
piece of
power
that
to
pie.
manipulate it just as much as they do.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
whether it's stocks, it could be crypto, it could be NFTs, but and cannabis, man, that's what's just kind of kept me like not giving a fuck through this whole thing. It's just kind of softened the blow of all this.
Yeah.
To just stay happy and still love and have gratitude for being alive and still being able to make music through all this crap.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
And that's the beats.
And that's the beats. Yeah, that's great. You mentioned that you've attended some like these like lo-fi beat parties. There's like house parties where people get together. There's a bunch of beat makers that get together and kind of network. And what's that like in LA? I mean, I know you make beats and been doing that for a while now. I remember you said like a bunch of these cats are 21 years old, 22. They just finished a music degree maybe, and they're just making lo-fi beats on Spotify.
Or there's cats who are like opera majors or classical majors or music therapists or harpists, and they steered into it, which I think is even crazier. Like maybe you'd expect a jazz or something like that, or somebody in production to get into beat making, but everybody's doing it, and I'm sure that means that there's still a lot of good and a lot of bad in that genre.
Yeah, of course.
But these producer hangs are great because these are people that have probably been doing it longer than I have and have really made an online fan base where they're not trying anymore. Like now they have the freedom to just make music and they know that their fan base is going to listen to it.
Yeah, that's cool. Do you think any
amazing.
one of those people could like sell tickets to a show, sell out a concert hall or something?
Yeah, I think there's a mixed bag there. Like some of them are musicians or instrumentalists, I should say.
Yeah.
Where maybe they have one instrument that they're really confident in at. And then some of them aren't. Some of them literally got good at the computer being their instrument. And a lot of what they do then is staying at home and collaborating with others. But for me personally, like, of course, like I want to be able to turn a lot of these beats into live product. And we've already been, me and my buddies, the producers that I work most closely with. And if you look at the playlist, you'll see their names all over it. They happen to be the same two guys that are in my jazz trio. So while I might play saxophone and Shane Savala plays guitar and Brian Ward plays bass, all three of us are also producing music in our own, style that we want. And on each track, we're helping each other out. We're throwing music and beats back and forth. We've been doing this the last couple of years. And even now as like the music scene kind of woke back up for a little bit, right now it's kind of come back down. It's a lot of uncertainty, but the one thing that's certain is that we want to keep collaborating with each other. And we had a talk the other day even saying like, we got to get back to it. We got kind of distracted by the hustle of gig life.
Right.
It's a interesting balance.
And now that gig life is contracting a little bit due to Omicron, you're feeling like, let's keep the steam going.
I think it's both. The wave of Omicron has got a lot of people afraid, and fear is the worst thing for a musician. We don't want people afraid of anything. So we got to hopefully get through this in the best way possible, as quick as possible. And the other thing is it's also hitting right as we get into this new year. And I think for a lot of musicians, January through March is kind of a slower season.
Yeah. Can you talk a little bit about getting into that scene where you're like, how do you get invited to a lo-fi beat party? So like, what if you're somebody who is graduating from college right now or like graduating from high school right now and you're a beat maker and you want to get connected in scenes like that?
The key is seriously, it's collaboration. You have to reach out to other beat makers that you like. You can't just be listening to your own stuff and focusing on your own stuff all the time. You have to find other producers that are doing stuff that you like and hit them up.
You're literally just like finding people that you like and finding their email address.
A lot of guys are doing that, and gals.
Or they're DMing people on socials.
Yep, they're finding each other on social media usually, and they are honestly just asking each other to jam, but through the computers by making beats.
Yeah.
And when that happens, what you start to see is if I put out a track with two other guys like Shane and Brian, and all three of us are on that track, it's bringing all three of those fan bases together. Now,
Right.
our fan bases might not be that big, but that doesn't concern me. Like, the product is still what drives me. Whatever the song is, the product has to be dope. So if we like our song and our little fan bases come together to like it, that's how you do it. And you see everybody doing this. Collaboration is key. And then going one step further is then starting to release music through Beats labels. And there's hundreds and probably thousands of those. There's very big ones, there's very small ones.
Yep.
And these are basically collectives of producers who are putting out the music on their own and have maybe more leverage to get listeners and followers through playlisting.
Cool.
So that's what I do. I work for a bunch of different labels, actually, but there's one that I work with primarily, and it's Dash Go. That's the name of the company.
Dash Go.
Bunch of great producers on that label. They're located in Santa Monica, and I like them because the guy who basically runs it, Rod Linham, hit me up. He called me on the phone one day in 2020, and we had a great conversation. We talked about jazz. He listened to all my jazz records. He was asking me about being a saxophone player. He
Cool.
just was a fan. And then he told me about this company that he's doing, and I started creating beats for him. It was like a perfect, it happened at the right time.
And then as a label, he's working to get you playlist spots. Like what's his distribution strategy?
Yeah, because they're a company. What their goal is to make money, just like our goal is to make money and
Yeah.
get our music out to more people. But because they have a collection of producers, that's what gives them more power. And it is a very competitive industry, and that's not the fun part about it. It's still a hustle. And
Yeah,
I
of course.
think, again, what we're getting into here is, as we talk about production and making beats for this matter, it's, again, another hustle. It's something that I have to wake up every day and think about and put some time in on, like you put time in on your instrument.
Right.
And so I've heard this said a lot before. I've heard people say, "Oh, you're so good at the hustle, man. You're a really good hustler. You go out and get gigs." And they're like, I'm not about that. I don't like that." And it's like, well, do you think I like that?
Yeah. Yeah, that's super
Or
real.
do I just choose to do it? Like, to pick up your instrument and practice 4 hours a day is a hustle,
Yeah. Yeah.
or to go to the gym and work out for 2 hours every day. That's a hustle. So we have to also be able to take our music and be able to put in the time to market it correctly.
Yeah. Booking gigs,
fan
booking
base.
tours. I mean, like all of that is stuff that is the least favorite of stuff that music makers do. It's like we don't want to be spending all of our time booking the shows, but like it's a means to an end. I mean, booking the shows means that you get to go and play in front of people and put on a great show.
And if you want to put your own product out there and get people to come see it, you have to do that hustle. If you don't, and you just want to be a freelancer and get called in other people's projects, you can still do that in a lot of cities. I mean,
yeah, which people
it's not
do.
to say
Yeah,
that you can't do
totally.
that.
Totally.
So maybe there's the difference, is just a difference in mindset of what you're trying to get out there.
Yeah. So the Spotify hustle, can you talk a little bit about like how you've managed to make it onto certain playlists? Like, I remember you saying, in a previous conversation that you get up in the morning, sometimes you just email playlist owners, just like straight up boots on the ground.
That's what cold brew means to me. Because when I wake up in the morning and have coffee, what I do is I'll either be, if I'm at the shop, I'll have my phone with me, but usually I do it at home with the computer. And there's certain websites where you can pitch your music to public playlists. That's basically the name of the game, is you're trying to get your music put onto public playlists.
Yeah.
Because that's how you start to get listeners. You need to market it yourself to your own following on social media, but you need to also market it to other people who have playlists that have already built in listeners. Even if it's 100 listeners and not thousands and thousands of listeners, you have to not think about the numbers in that way.
Yeah.
You have to just let it grow.
Right.
Because it will be an exponential type thing.
Yeah. So you're at almost 30,000 monthly listeners. What does that translate to in terms of like your yearly, like if you were to post, well, here's my Spotify Wrapped. Like, what are you looking at the end of the year now at 30,000 a month listeners?
And that's another thing, right? The Spotify Wrapped came out, I don't know, maybe a few years ago, where they started telling artists who are on Spotify, they'll give you all your data, and then at the end they give you this cute little picture that says your final numbers of the year. And then they encourage you to share that to everybody. First of all, fuck you. I'm not going to share that with everybody.
Right.
It's nobody's business.
Okay.
Just listen to my music, man. Like, you don't need to know that stuff. I'm happy to tell you guys that, like, I'll say this. We don't have to get into the nitty gritty, but I've kept a log of what I call passive income for me, which is going to be Spotify royalties from streaming, but also Apple Music is another really great place. Most people who are putting music out, it's going on Spotify, it's going on Apple, it's going on all these different things. The main two are Spotify and then Apple. Apple pays more,
right?
But so I'm totaling up Spotify, Apple, and YouTube
as your passive income package.
Yeah. And those are three different things that I can find deposits on my account, add it up, and keep tabs on it.
Right.
And I can confidently say that as a I live in Orange County, but I've been able to pay rent all year based on that passive income.
That's awesome.
And that was the goal,
Yeah.
It's not my full-time job. It's definitely not my full-time job. I'm not ever planning on getting rich off of doing it. What's more important to me is going out and playing shows and writing my own music, and to have your bills covered by passive income, it gives you that freedom.
Oh, hell yeah.
To where now I just feel like I have the freedom to say yes or no to gigs that I'm inspired by or not.
Right.
I've got a little more freedom now.
What a great feeling. I mean, that's like why I started teaching, really. It's like I wanted to be able to say, I don't want to play this funeral gig. I don't want to play this, it's like there were certain gigs that I was like, man, this is such a drag. And you're always hanging that as a performer, you're always hanging that, like, how much does a gig pay versus how cool is the music, right? And you can have a gig where it's like the music is awesome and it pays nothing and you still do it. Yeah.
I had a teacher who probably got it from somebody else, but Sal Lozano, great saxophonist. And he always said it's like there's three pillars to every gig. He says if you get two of those three, 2 out of 3, then take the gig. Right. Because if you get 3 out of 3, that's a great gig. Yeah. He goes, but if it's only one, then you got to say no.
What is it? The music, the money, and the hang? Is that what it is?
The first one is the bread, yeah. Yep. You say the bread, which is the money. How much does it pay? The second one is the music, which to me means, like, what are you playing, and is it maybe pushing you, or do you really enjoy playing it?
Yep.
So for, like, the polka band, I just really enjoy playing that music.
Man.
But with I love maybe playing with music, AMO, man. It was like, this is hard fucking music that's going to make me better.
Yep.
It was a different feeling, but it still hit it.
Yep.
And then the third one is the hang, right? Like, who are you playing with? And again, that could be the same thing. Do you like hanging with them, or are you playing with John DeVersa big band and something, and you're shitting your pants because now you're scared to hang out with these cats?
Sure.
That was me at the Baked Potato not too long ago. I was scared. And by the end of that gig, I couldn't have felt better. He's such an amazing human. But, like,
that's cool.
So you got to get 2 out of 3 of those. And I can't tell you, we all know those gigs where you don't like the music, you don't like who you're playing with, but you take it because it pays enough.
Right.
And that's the hard one to say no to.
It's a hard one. And those are the ones that, like, down the road, it's like, it'd be nice if I didn't have to say yes to these kinds of things.
So if you can figure out maybe whatever your creative passive income might be, it might give you more freedom to say, I'm not going to do that one. I'm going to stay at home tonight.
Yep.
I'm going to talk to Adam Meckler on the computer.
Yeah, it's Friday night, man. I was impressed. You were like, hey,
baby.
Hang Friday. I was like, all right, let's do it. Here I am also not working. But I'm up in the UP, man. It's different. There's not as much work up here. It's
oh, come on. There's got to be some good bars with women dancing on the tables. And they're pouring Schlitz off a tap from 1940.
Pouring Schlitz. They're wearing muckluck boots.
Yeah. Do you wear Uber hats?
I don't wear Uber hats. No.
Bro, you got to check this one out. I got it. I got this this was a Facebook targeted ad that really worked. I'm telling you. You see this shit?
Oh, yep, there it is.
Classic
University
Uper
of
hat
Minnesota, Golden Gophers.
for the Golden Gophers.
Love it.
Yeah, here how do I get it on? Can I do both?
Oh, yes.
Rock it for a little bit.
Fantastic. You look like Jacob Collier. That's like he's always got a funny hat in all of his videos.
Also, oh, dude, another one of my favorite things now is I've been making shirts for friends. And this is a really funny one.
Okay.
I'm not going to even explain it. I'm going to let saxophone players everywhere try to figure this one out. LSK1? That's it.
All right. I don't get it.
Oh, you're not supposed to get it. You're a trumpet player.
Yeah, yeah.
You don't know anything about LSK1.
I'll have to unpack that with some of my saxophone player students.
You'll have to ask them, what the hell is LSK1? What does he mean by that?
What does this mean? I'm constantly asking them that kind of stuff. They're literally like they're talking about some video game or something in our chat today. We had a virtual. I just recently I got COVID for the first time. And so like
recently?
Yeah, like
are you an Omicroner?
Yeah, I'm an Omicroner, I guess.
Welcome aboard, dude. I don't think I got it.
Yeah.
I was
tested
early
positive.
October 2020 over here.
Nice. Yeah. Wow. That's really
recording session out in Tulsa, Oklahoma. I didn't stand a chance.
Yeah.
I went out there, dude. We hung out at a bar. Nobody's wearing masks, but the music was great, and I'm like, oh boy,
dude. Tulsa is a fucking rad city, man.
Tulsa, Oklahoma is
it's
ton
rad.
of fun.
There's some great musicians.
A shit ton of people
in
are
Tulsa.
moving out there. In one night, dude. In one night, I went to a honky tonk. I went to a singer songwriter thing where they're playing great funk music, and then we went to a hip hop night at this bar where there's a live band, and then a bunch of MCs come through and like jam. It was like all in one night.
Very
Tulsa,
cool.
Oklahoma.
Yeah, I spent some time down there with Todd Clauser's band in like the 2010s, early 2010s. It's great. Met some
great
amazing musicians, man.
Great city.
Really
There's a
amazing.
ton of COVID down there, though.
Oh yeah. No, COVID's not real down there, man. It doesn't exist. It never happened.
Oh, it exists. Take some back with me.
Yeah, I bet.
And dude, everybody got it. I felt so bad. Like you don't know that you have it for a couple days, right? So you take a plane ride back, and then you're like, oh shit.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the saddest things about COVID is you get so much like self guilt. You're like, I was walking around for 3 days before I knew it.
Yeah, it's hard, man. It's like now we gotta work. We gotta do some stuff. And I was out with my students. We did a tour out to Minneapolis, and we went to a bunch of schools, and like it was part of what we do every January. And I booked it all before Omicron was a thing, and I was like, all right, let's see if we can hold it together. And of course, one of my students started getting sick on Tuesday of the week-long tour, like 2 days in of the second day. And I was like, okay, this is, we did our best, but several of us got it, including myself. I tried to keep him away from the other students, so he was sitting up by me on the bus ride home on Friday, and that's why.
Was it a pretty textbook experience as like everybody else, or?
Oh, it was. I mean, I had very mild symptoms. I'm vaccinated and boosted, so I have very mild symptoms for 3 days. And today was the first day where I had like no real symptoms. Felt good the whole day. Yeah. And so,
I really wish that we had more testing like early on, way early on. I wish that there were more testing and the take-home tests, especially for entertainers and people trying to get out there and do shit like that.
Yep.
Testing really is it's effective because people are still getting it whether vaccinated or not, and that's a reality. So
right. And I wonder when there's going to be a time when, like, to me, like the number one most compelling reason to not just completely open up, just not say fuck it and open everything up. The most compelling reason is that hospitals get overrun, right? When unvaccinated people get in there because they're way too sick from COVID. It's like then somebody has a heart attack and they got to sit. Yeah, it's like they got to sit in the parking lot.
Rolled.
Yeah. And that's.
And I got
to
two
me,
parents
that's
both from healthcare, and that's very personal to them. Like, they feel really bad for. They don't think that people are really even, the media is not even talking about that in a reality enough of how hard some of these people work.
Oh, yeah.
Through all this crap. And you know what? Also, I really think about like the people at grocery stores, man. And like, they've been working their tails off.
Yeah.
Through all this. They're essential workers.
Yep.
And they've been working tons of hours. I'm kind of a simpleton, man. I walk to the same grocery store basically every day, and I'll buy, whatever I want that night for dinner.
Yep.
And because I go there every day, I know a lot of the people that work at the grocery store. We become friends now. Like, we know each other by name. We'll hang out.
Yeah, nice.
And man, they've just been working their tails off through all this, and no raises. That's why you're seeing a lot of them going on strike right now.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. What a fucking shitty time it's been.
And again, I'm just like, I feel like I'm just here in the middle of it. Like, I just want to make noises that people like and make people smile. Like,
well, I mean, that goes back to like getting your passive income hustle on. I mean, that's like that's a big part of what I'm trying to do myself, and like what I want to talk to people like you that are doing that or that have done that on this podcast, so that our listeners can learn from that and go like, all right, how can I? But that's everything. Passive income to me.
You're a fine example of that, though, right? Like right during the pandemic is when you monetized your YouTube.
Yeah.
And you've used it primarily as an educational tool.
Right.
My YouTube, maybe not as much educational stuff. It's a lot of like random videos. So like the beauty is you can still do whatever you want. You have all that freedom online to put out whatever you want. But it takes a little bit of diligence. It takes a little bit of working every day.
Yeah.
Keeping tabs of it. So.
Yeah, definitely.
That's my story, and I'm still sticking to it. It took me, I'll tell you this. I remember the first night that I thought about it. I was laying in bed. This was before I didn't have a ton of beats out at the time. A lot of my, this was like early 2020. So my jazz album, my trio album, Splanky, I put out in 2018.
Yep.
And it's made some good traction. And it was doing pretty well. And I took a tune, and I think, I don't know what happened. I found a playlist on Spotify, and I just looked at the guy who ran it. And it was a gentleman's name, and then right next to it, you click on the name, and then up pops his picture. And I was like, that's his Facebook picture. Like, that's his Facebook profile picture.
Yeah.
Because most people at the time who signed up for Spotify did it through Facebook. You'd like link it to your Facebook account.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it is for me. It's for a lot of people that way. And I was like, so he's on Facebook. I have his name and his picture. I said, I hope this doesn't sound too creepy, but I'm just going to look him up and send him a message and say, hey, I found your playlist on Spotify. I like it. I think I have a song that would be a good fit. And I sent the message on Facebook Messenger. He got back to me like 5 minutes later and said, just added it to the playlist. And I was like, holy fuck, that was easy. I was like, we got people like paying thousands of dollars for marketing programs and like all these online marketing platforms. That's the fucking shit they're doing, man. They're just middlemen. You can do that stuff on your own.
Yeah.
Again, maybe not as quick, maybe not as big, but you can still do it on your own.
Man, what a good story. I mean, that's such a great example of just making it happen.
And Splanky's it's like 1.2 million now on Spotify.
That's awesome.
And then my Christmas album, I put it out in 2019. It's called Just Like the Ones We Used to Know. That one, this past Christmas, did very well. And with the same hustle, I kind of shifted the hustle towards the Christmas album around September, November, October, December area.
Are you singing on that? I haven't heard that record yet. Are you singing at all?
No, we had Natalie sing on that one.
We had Natalie, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I stayed out. But I might have something brewing in the future with a couple tracks that I'm singing on.
Yeah, I always like how you sang, man. It's when we played with the Polka band in Minneapolis. And I was going to say earlier, like
shout out Brass Barn. BB.
I also very much enjoy playing polka music and always felt like those gigs were great hangs, were really fun musically.
They hit all three.
And they paid great. Yeah, man. Like all three. Totally. Yep. It's like polka? Why? I don't know, man.
Still do. To all your listeners out there, do not start polka bands. Don't enter into our don't come into our economy.
Yeah.
I mean, dude, I'm in Los Angeles and there's still only like 4 or 5 polka bands that are killing the scene right now. That's it. They were one of them. Yeah, that was always a lot of fun, man. Doing those. Brass Barn was a ton of fun. That was a big band too.
Yeah, it was huge. And the older folks were always so pumped to see young people making that music too. I mean, there was a certain like, wow, I can't believe you guys are doing this. You know, of course, you're playing your songs too fast, but
West Coast Pros kind of like we branched out a little bit over the years, and we started doing more Dixieland or country western, and now we're starting to do some what I like to call dad tunes. Other people
Nice.
call it yacht rock.
Yacht rock.
Like just throwing in stuff that people want to hear, and having a really good time, and not treating it like a jazz gig, or not even treating ourselves like jazz musicians when we play that music. We're kind of shifting our mindset, and it really is a lot of fun.
That's cool. Hey, I got one more question for you.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about the city of Milwaukee, your connection to the city of Milwaukee, what it means to you to be from Milwaukee? If I feel like a lot of people that I know from Milwaukee have such a deep connection to that city, and I'm curious what your relationship is with that being place. And
finally, finally for the first time in my life, I can tell people I'm from Milwaukee and they know where it is. So thank you, Giannis Antetokounmpo and the Milwaukee Bucks.
Yeah, come on, man.
For putting that city on the map, dude.
Yep.
Like, Jesus. Yeah, Milwaukee's a great city. I'm technically from a suburb of Milwaukee called Wauwatosa.
Okay.
But I lived in a house that was probably 2 blocks away from the city of Milwaukee. But I think anybody from Milwaukee County is just eager to say that they're from Milwaukee, because they do have respect for the city. It's a city of hardworking people, very blue collar, and still very blue collar. And I've gotten to know it more. At least I've put more effort into trying to get to know what it feels like now in Milwaukee. Every time I visit, I just try to reach out to old friends that I knew in high school that I always respected, like other guys that are artists doing their own thing out there, and I just try to hang out with them and see how they're doing and what their experience is like in the city. Yeah. And for me personally, it is always just kind of fun to have a homecoming. I was just there over Christmas, and we did a trio show at a little like coffee bar in Wauwatosa, and like nice. Everybody came out. It was such a good crowd. It was 2 days before Christmas. It was magical, and cool. Like it was at a Vendetta Coffee Bar. Shout out to Vendetta. And they would love to have us back in the future, and we want to do it. So I like Milwaukee. I think there is an interesting history of musicians also coming out of Milwaukee over the years. One of the tops would probably be Al Jarreau. He was a Milwaukee guy. That always wasn't afraid to tell people he was from Milwaukee. You know?
Wow, interesting. I did not know that about Al Jarreau.
Jarreau was a Milwaukee cat. And cool. Berkeley Fudge, one of the greatest tenor players in Milwaukee, still lives in the area. Who else? Oh, my speaker's getting. Let me fix this. Hello, there we go. Dan Nimmer, a great piano player from Milwaukee.
Cool.
Now plays with Wynton Marsalis and his orchestra.
Wow.
So it is one of those like cities where we kind of like that people don't know a lot about it, so we want to share about it with them. Yep. So if there's one thing you got to know about somebody from Milwaukee, they're going to be wearing something.
Milwaukee gear.
They're going to rep something, especially when they're traveling. If they're in California or Florida or Arizona or Colorado, like they're going to be wearing something, and they're going to want to talk to you about it. Yeah. Talk to you about Milwaukee.
I think that's beautiful, man. People. I think that's beautiful.
I think Minneapolis has that too, and I think that's why I loved going there. LA is different, man. LA is one of those things where it's already had it for so long. Yep. I don't know if people are really proud to say they're from LA, because a lot of people just moved out to LA. It's like a commuter city.
Not as many people are from there,
Yeah, I meet a lot of, at least in the music scene, I meet a lot of cats from Chicago.
Interesting.
That are in LA.
I'm spending some more time down there now, which is nice. I'm above, in the Upper Peninsula, we're above Wisconsin, so it's about the same, almost the same amount of drive to Minneapolis and Chicago. So I started a trio down in Chicago.
Really?
Playing down there a lot more now. Yeah, we did an Adam Meckler Orchestra show down there too.
Where'd you play?
Formed a whole group of pros in Chicago. Played at Fulton Street Collective for like right before the pandemic hit. It was right before. It was January. And
you
then
ever
recently,
been to the Green Mill?
Oh yeah,
that's such a spot.
I grew up north of Chicago, so like I have a lot of friends that I went to high school with that are in Chicago, and just a lot of people that I know that went to Lawrence University that moved to Chicago. So I started a trio with a couple dudes that I went to Lawrence with. But
Chicago is such a cozy scene when you're talking about the jazz scene out there specifically.
Yeah,
and I think when I say I meet a lot of people out here from Chicago, it is more in like. it's more in the pop scene. Like when we're talking about the big Hollywood touring bands and like the Ariana Grandes and the Justin Timberlakes,
Yep.
you're meeting like musicians, drummers and bass players and keyboard players that are from the Chicago gospel scene.
Yep.
They made their way out here. But as far as the straight ahead jazz scene, a lot of cats have stayed in Chicago their whole life, and it has such an identity. It has a sound just like New York City would have.
Totally.
And so like, yeah, I got a lot of love for Chicago, and I kick myself every day that I didn't go down there more when I lived in Milwaukee. It's an hour and a half drive, and we thought, oh, that's such a long drive. It's like, shit, I drive that every day in LA now.
Yeah.
And it's not a nice drive.
It's not a nice drive. Yeah, you can't stop at Mars Cheese Castle.
Oh,
LA.
dude. We got to get one of those out here. I'll start one.
Franchise that shit. Get your passive income game happening, man. Franchise
passive
Mars
income
cheese
and your
capital.
cheese income.
Yeah, your cheese income.
Start your side cheese hustle.
Jesus. Well, dude, thanks for doing this, man. I appreciate it. I don't need to keep you anymore. I think we covered a lot of great stuff, and I'm gonna link Dash Go for our listeners just so they can check that out.
Yeah.
And I'll link your Spotify and your YouTube. So I encourage you all that are listening to go check out JFab, Jason Fabus, and his music. He's doing all kinds of great.
Yeah, I will mention, I guess I have two personas on Spotify right now. You're going to see Jason Fabus is more for my jazz projects or like full album concepts. And then JFab is my producer name, and that's more for releasing beats and instrumentals and singles. So
cool.
You got to check them both out if you're into one or the other.
Yeah.
And I know Meckler's on there too, because you and I have some work to do. We got to do some collabing ourselves.
We got to do it. I got a new single coming out where I'm like singing and stuff. I'm excited about it, and more stuff like that. I think.
You still doing YouTubes too?
I am. I took a little bit of break, but I'm gonna start it up again. I usually I'll do like a run of 20, and then I'll post them all. So I've done that a few times now. And,
that's what's up.
You know, after a few months, you start to see like, oh, that one's at 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 views now. Cool.
And you never know. And it's like,
I got one that's at 200,000.
It's
like, it's ridiculous. It's like I don't even know how it got there. You know, all of a sudden it started shooting up. Like, whoa.
Well, either you're gonna come out to LA with Corey Wong.
Fingers crossed, man. He hasn't called me in a while. We'll see. We'll see how that goes.
Or maybe I need to take a trip out to Minneapolis and just meander over to your hood.
Yeah, well, you can come up to UP anytime, and of course, I'm gonna be down in LA eventually for sure. I got a buddy that's coming out there from Australia. I work with this Australian artist, Jaron J, who's really amazing. Do a bunch of remote horns for him. He's coming to LA, and
I got a Cal King. That's all I'm saying. There's
I think I'm gonna come hang. Yeah, come on
over.
We'll bring the kids. Can we all fit on that bed? All four of us? I'm just kidding.
We can try.
Yeah, we'll find a place. Thanks,
all right, man. I love you, Adam.
Love you too, buddy.